Good afternoon, Paul. It's January the 17th, a Tuesday. Here's the heads up brief for today. In the Southeast Asia production, we covered 15 issues. In North Asia, we covered 4. And for Australasia and the Pacific Islands, we covered 4 issues also. In South Asia, we covered 12 issues plus the major issues in the Europe, Middle East, and Africa region.
Okay, thanks a lot. Go ahead.
So, Paul, the main issues for you to be aware of are regarding the clash at the nickel smelter in central Sulawesi, Indonesia, over the weekend, in which 1 Indonesian and 1 Chinese worker were killed. There's some details that have come out. So the workers have accused management of not following occupational health and safety standards. This is after 2 workers were killed in an explosion in December that the workers say the management is responsible for. Another factor that came out is the low wages as compared to the revenues that the company is making is apparently another point of contention. And there have been inherent tensions between the Indonesian and Chinese workers there. The president of the Labour Party said the Indonesian workers were mistreated by their Chinese counterparts.
Look, that's very interesting, Uday. I mean, as I anticipated, this is a bit of a microcosm of the entire country whereby there's tensions against Chinese, even though they've been living in Indonesia as Indonesian citizens for hundreds of years. But in this case, they're Chinese workers that have been brought in. The other reason I call it a microcosm is the low pay and the industrial issues and the safety issues. These are issues that are cascaded right across the country. In fact, the only place you find world-class standards are like in the Freeport mine, where they basically have a very mature Indonesian management team, but also a high proportion of very professional expatriate managers and trainers. And they achieve world-class, whereby the government thrusts responsibilities on them to comply, but then doesn't do that to the rest of the country. Thank you. Go ahead.
Right, Paul. In Myanmar, the UN Special Advisory Council named the United States, France, India, Germany, Israel, Japan, and 7 other countries as countries that were supplying Myanmar's military with equipment and expertise to create and manufacture weapons that are being used against its citizens. They also said that Singapore is a transit hub and Singaporean companies work as middlemen for the military buyers and external suppliers from these countries.
Yeah, look, there's 2 notable things there. One, correct me if I'm wrong, but Thailand, despite PTTEP's massive operations in Myanmar, was not named. No surprises with France, Israel, Germany, India, US. I also believe Russia was on it. But what's of grave concern is that Singapore doesn't actually join most international treaties, and it sits there pretending it's a London-styled ethical city based in Asia, yet it's really just totally commercially focused. All right, thank you. Go on.
Paul, in the Philippines, the National Police said yesterday that they're reviewing second-level officers to investigate them for links to the drug trade. Now, this is after reviewing the voluntary resignation of about 1,000 top-level officers for links to the drug trade.
Look, it's very funny because you see a lot of UN organisations, in particular, hire and multinationals hiring ex-Philippine police because they assume that the police have the integrity of their home nations from which they're used to hiring in. Our experience is that former police are highly likely to be toxic from a cultural perspective internally within an organisation, and from a values and integrity perspective to be rancid and to lack any real values that are commensurate with multinational and international NGOs, which doesn't only reflect badly on the Philippine police, it reflects badly on the inept, naive human resource processes that recruit and maintain and promote such guys. Thank you. Go ahead.
Right, Paul. In Thailand, 14 members of the Department of Special Investigation were charged with bribery and extortion after apparently demanding millions of baht to free a Chinese national under investigation. Authorities are also investigating 80 immigration officers for facilitating the illegal entry and stay of Chinese nationals in the country.
Okay, that's huge. Let's monitor that really closely.
Right, Paul. In Papua New Guinea, around 470 healthcare workers have commenced an indefinite strike across the country. They're demanding payments from a 2012 agreement in which they would get housing and clinical allowances, but the government has not provided anything thus far. Because of the strike, surgeries, cancer treatment, x-rays, and medical imaging and other functions at hospitals are being disrupted.
Look, that's particularly worrisome. One, it's obviously a reflection on the standard of governance in PNG, but it's also of grave concern given their medical system probably is capable of providing about less than 10% of the company's requirements. So it's not like deferring non-essential surgeries in Australia. It just simply will go from never catching up to way beyond the finish line. Very little light at the end of the tunnel when it comes to policing and healthcare in what is becoming a potential failed state given the lack of governance in Papua New Guinea. Thank you.
Right. In South Asia, there's increased security in Delhi and Uttar Pradesh ahead of Republic Day, which falls on the 26th of January. This is after authorities issued terror alerts. These terror alerts are normally issued ahead of major events and they are precautionary, but authorities are always concerned that terrorists may target large crowds during these events.
Okay, thanks a lot.
In Bangladesh, 30 people, including 10 police officers, were injured in an opposition rally in Chittagong yesterday.
Okay, that's a significant rally when that many people are injured. We might have to dig into that a little bit more today and tomorrow and see what's going on, okay?
Sure, Paul, we'll do that. Lastly, in the Europe, Middle East, and Africa region, there's 2 items here, Paul. The European Commission aims for European Union countries to start jointly buying gas before the summer so that they will not have a supply crunch next winter as they had this year.
Okay, thanks.
And Prime Minister Rishi Sunak's government in the United Kingdom yesterday tabled amendments to the Public Order Bill that will seek to stop disruptive protests.
Okay, so it's interesting. Another elite economist backtracking and taking away the rights of the average citizen. That normally only ends up eventually one way, and that's in increasing demonstrations. It's interesting that the elitists in the UK don't learn from the failures of their previous leaders. Okay, thanks a lot. Excellent brief as always, Uday.
Thanks, Paul. See you tomorrow then.